So it's an honor to welcome you all to this panel. We are talking about meeting the challenges of secure citizen registration for implementing digital identity in Africa. We all know that inclusive citizen registration is a foundation for trusted digital identity and for access to public services, financial inclusion. It is vital. But we also know that there are challenges that we face, and that's really what we would like to share with everybody today. Talk a little bit about the challenges and how each one of you who are leaders at the center of this transformation, and you're actually doing it. How are you overcoming this, and how are you planning, and how are you thinking about this? I think it's going to be fascinating to hear what you have to say. So maybe, Honorable Jack, if we can start with you. After your opening now, Zambia has had such a successful program so far. And you've been pushing to decentralize registration services so that no citizen is too far away from a registration center, which is a very interesting exercise. Could you talk a little bit about the steps that you are taking to bring registration to the communities? How are you doing this? Mobile units, how is the process happening, please?
Thank you so much, moderator. As you have rightly indicated, Zambia is enhancing digitalization in the country. We have been embarking on this process for quite some time now. As we do the digitization, we have been encountering some obstacles. Some of the obstacles we have been encountering are geographical distances in the rural areas especially, where a number of places are not easy to access. We have also had challenges of limited internet connectivity in the rural areas, and also the lack of electricity or power in the rural areas. However, we have endeavored to ensure that we provide for our people. We have mobilized kits which we are using to ensure that we do register a number of our people in the rural areas using mobile kits. And to ensure that these mobile kits are usable, we are providing a generate power, which we are using to ensure that these kits are always powered. Yeah. We have succeeded in ensuring that the rural areas are connected through this process. And we are proud that we are going to share the experiences with our neighbors and partners in the process.
Yeah, that is great. If we can maybe move on to the Honourable Minister from Uganda. So a similar question. I think Uganda is aiming for universal ID coverage, but there's still many citizens that are not registered yet. So could you talk a little bit about the initiatives that you are doing to reach these that are not registered yet, specifically in some of the remote areas? Maybe there's some conflict that you're addressing, any lessons learned so far?
Thank you, moderator. The challenges met by my Zambian counterpart are mostly the same across Africa, and these include infrastructural and access challenges, especially hard to reach areas, and we also meet other challenges including conflict affected persons. We are home to a lot of refugees from the neighborhood, and those present with peculiar registration needs. Then we also have people with special needs who need tailored solutions in terms of registration. The interventions we've made include improvising mobile kits, but also decentralizing our services to the hard-to-reach areas. Instead of working from the center, we spread out to ensure that we reach the last person. And then also we ensure that we mitigate the challenges of power in some areas, the challenges of poor access because of the road infrastructure, the challenges of internet connectivity. There are also issues of documentation gaps and low digital literacy levels in the countryside. And that takes a little bit of a long haul, we need to invest. We invest in education. We invest in intentional and deliberate plans to ensure that we plug that gap. And then also there are cultural barriers. Adapting to technology and its immense opportunities takes a while. It needs resources, it needs intention, it needs education, but also it needs matching ambition with strategic courage to ensure that you embrace technology. We've done a lot of interventions where I sit at Internal Affairs, some of them policy and institutional, enactment of enabling legislation, establishing the Central Registration Authority. Hitherto that registration was spread across government with the attendant duplicity. And then also enhancement of connectivity and reach across the country through decentralization, like I said. Thank you.
Honorable David, maybe just a quick question, because you mentioned education. So I was curious, how do the people feel about identifying and registering? We've seen in the UK now, it's almost a revolt because people don't want to be identified. Is your experience that it's seen as a positive initiative by the people?
For everything new, there's always a scare. So what we've done is deliberately to include in our curricula in the schools to add IT just from the nascent stages up to university.
Okay. So grassroots kind of education.
Yes.
Honorable Ebenezer, you've been at this a while now, so I see there's recent proposals putting NEO permanently under the Ministry of Interior, and you believe that's going to strengthen collaboration. Would you be able to talk a little bit about that and tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you very much. For Ghana, we have been on this agenda since 2003, trying to capture everybody's identity. And the essence is to help in border management, every activity, including businesses, everybody, like the minister of Zambia said, we want to have a situation where the farmer in a village in Navrongo should access any service by just pressing the button. And to do that, we need to capture everybody in the system. We should have a platform that can easily be accessed. However, this process is also, bedeviled with some, few issues, from infrastructure to finance and geographical location. And the situation in Zambia is not too different from what we have in Ghana. We have problems with electricity. We have network services problems. But then we have, had a cause to innovate, come out with, various innovation to help bring everybody on board. The issues, we also have issues to do with people accepting to enroll. So to do this, we decided to involve the traditional leaders, getting them, to understand, and then, help in disseminating, information about, some of the benefits in getting enrolled. So far, that is what we have been doing. And for areas that are very difficult to access, like Zambia did, we have mobile, kits that are taken to, these areas. Data is picked and then transported and then brought to a central point where, we have all of it. Today, all of this has been brought under the Ministry of Interior because we want to have, a centralized data that can be accessed by all institutions. And this will also enhance our security and for easy reference and then interinstitutional kind of interaction when it comes to dealing with data.
Yeah.
All other sister ministries and departments should be able to access reliable data from a single source, and that is what we are working at as we speak today.
Okay, thank you. The Honourable Minister from Somalia, very interesting. You have set yourself such an aggressive target to register 15 million citizens by 2029. That is a very big target. And I was reading that you've done some pilots in districts like Shangani, and I wonder if you could tell us firstly, just your plan to register the citizens. These are very aggressive dates that you put in. How are the pilots going, and how are you going to achieve?
Actually, there is a similarity in many African countries, but in Somalia, we face challenges, and also there is solution promises also. Many people live in rural areas. They were far from the urban areas, from the town, and actually we have they don't have a formal documents that you can go and put and do proper registration. And there is also a poor infrastructure and insecurity. Where, as you know, there is terrorist groups are active in rural areas when we cannot reach easily. And there is a certain team of our society affected, like women and IDBs. As you know, there is almost many people in Somalia displaced because of the war that is going on in Somalia for the last 2 decades. And all disabilities also, the people who has disabilities, there's a problem. There's mistrust between, there is a false information they were getting sometimes. The government and the registration is certain. There is a problem that we're facing. Also, there is a cost problem and data also commended barriers. But also there is solutions, and that we want to make sure that mobile sector, solar powered, and registration kits, also offline systems. We can do a lot, and we can register more with connection without internet. Community leaders like elders, religious leaders, they can identify if the person doesn't have a genuine document. Using biometric and systems, for example, fingerprints and something like that. So the government also want and imposed now to connect the services, all the services, banks, universities, and health sectors, to connect all that. I think it will be a good way to register more. That's why we want to register for the next, in 2029, there is an ambitious goal to register almost 15 million, which is more than 85% of the population. Thank you.
And maybe just a quick follow-up question is, how has your pilot project been progressing?
The pilot project now, there is a pilot project, but now we have already started a genuine registration now.
Okay.
The pilot project was almost 2 districts in Shangani, for example, in Banadri districts, but now we started a huge process, and the government directed, head of the president of Somalia ordered all the government institutions to work with the ANIRA to make sure that this registration to make a reality in the next few months and years, inshallah. Thank you.
Okay, that's fantastic. Mr. Chumiriwa, you've also been busy with land registry reform in Zimbabwe. So you've announced, that the whole national digital ID issuance program is going to be starting or has just started. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the ministry's plans. I think you started in Bulawayo, if I remember correctly, but maybe if you could tell us a little bit about your plans.
Zimbabwe is quite different from other countries. I'll start by explaining our journey, Zimbabwe started to recognize the foundational identity way back in 1976. An act of parliament does provide that. So every Zimbabwean citizen is obliged to get an identity. And our journey as a country, we started to do digital reforms for registration of our citizens way back in 1976. And as we were moving along that journey, in 2004, that's when Zimbabwe introduced a biometric national identity card. I'm talking of 2004, where we started to capture all the biometrics. As we are moving towards, right, we have established enrollment centers throughout the country, throughout our provinces, throughout our districts, and even to sub-offices, where as a country, we are saying, leaving no one, no place left behind is our mantra. So we ensure that even to the lowest rural areas, everybody gets an identity. And how was this achieved? Because of this strong National Registration Act, the strong Birth and Deaths Registration Act. As we are speaking as a country, we are also decentralizing the registration services to hospitals. And we have engaged the community leadership to take part in the registration processes, whereby they are also actively involved in the notification of an occurrence of an event. So what we are doing as a country, we already have the foundational identity. As we move towards digitalization of services to our citizens, we already having interoperability of systems with the financial services, even with mobile operators. They do authenticate or do data verification with the central registry, which is owned or which is under the Ministry of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage. As a country, what we are doing is enhancement. How do we further go down the rural areas? And what initiatives have been taken? The government is in the process or has digitalized most urban areas through the provision of a robust fiber network optics. In addition, also there are some technologies that are coming in place to say, how do we reach the deep end of our rural population, where we have the government has provided its own satellite hub to fully support the digitization processes. And also, the government has enacted some laws. How do we further enhance our digital identity initiatives? You would see maybe on other panels where you will be joined by the e-government unit, where they will tell you about our interoperability frameworks. So in terms of registration, the foundational identity registration in Zimbabwe is quite robust.
Okay.
We have gone to the extent of giving identities to livestock, just to testify how further we are going. And of course, the issues that are common in poor network connectivity, that's why I've said the government has made initiatives to even strengthen the connectivity by introducing satellite hubs that catches the deep end, and also continued initiatives through triple Ps or any other development partners who come to support the government. But of course, the government has the capability to enhance registration, because our registration system is fully funded by the government.
Yeah.
It is the full support.
But let's hold on there for a second. I want to come back to you on the funding requirements of that. But I just want to ask, Honorable Jack, just for this, I'm worried I don't get in this question because it's such a good practical experience that you've had. You know, you're rolling from the paper identity to the cards, which means you're running two systems at the same time, you know, which is such an interesting challenge that everybody, I think, is dealing with, is the transition from the old to the new. You know, could you talk a little bit about what you are doing to run the systems, to maintain integrity? How are you managing this plan to phase out the old system?
Thank you so much. It is my considered view that trust is key when digitizing. If the citizens have no confidence in the system, they will not cooperate and they will not be part of the digitization agenda of the government. To ensure that the citizens buy in the processes of digitization and to ensure that data is protected, we have formulated a policy which guides digitization in Zambia. And we have also enacted the data protection laws to ensure that the privacy and the rights of individuals are protected in the country. We have also ensured and embarking on encryption to ensure that nobody accesses the data of the individuals in Zambia. And we are collaborating with other players to ensure that this process is enhanced and is established. We are going beyond the processes that we are enhancing and establishing in Zambia. We want to work with other players, industry players, countries which we collaborate with in Africa and in particular East Africa and the SADC region. So we are working together to enhance the data protection and the protection of citizens. It's key. If the citizens feel that their privacy is being violated, if their rights are violated, they will not cooperate and the digitization will not succeed.
The member from Zimbabwe mentioned interlinking with other organizations, you know, and Honorable David, maybe I could ask you a similar question in Uganda. Is you've got everything under one authority, and now are you busy working on linking health, taxation, all of these things to the national identity? Could you maybe share some of your thoughts around that?
Thank you. On the contrary, while we do registration, the linkage is mainly domiciled in the Ministry of IT and the national, and they have an agency called NITA, but we interface with NITA, and ours is to be a platform, among others, across government,
Okay.
into which they can tap. But what we have done is, speaking about the transition you asked from my Zambian counterpart, we've allowed for the old, so long as it remains valid in terms of time, to expire, and then the transition to the new one. But also we give the option to people to either go for the new, even before the other one expires,
Okay.
or let it last its time and then they revert to the new. Issues of trust are not a problem in our country because these IDs and passports are instruments of opportunity. So that's how they look at it. Actually, we are managing stampede for these services, so if I can call it.
That's probably a nice problem to have. Honorable Ebenezer, I want to talk a little bit about the systems that you have and maybe some of your thoughts on combating fraud and ensuring integrity. You know, we've been talking about trust in the system. You know, maybe you can share a little bit of thoughts on combating fraud in the identity system.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the essence of putting it under, single ministry is to help in combating some of these issues that had to do with fraud. The ministry has immigration, police, custom, everybody, that had to do with internal security under the ministry. And therefore, this would enable interagency, kind of cooperation, so that when it has to do with intelligence, it has to do with identity fraud and etc., it will not be difficult to access the information from a central point. Now, to do this, as he said, we also believe in strong data protection system. We have enacted laws that are strictly adhered by all the institutions that are involved, and that is another step that we have taken. And we're also looking at having an independent body that will monitor and make sure that at any point in time, there's no misuse of data, there's compliance, and build trust, so that everybody would be encouraged to get on board. Once you have a trusted system, it is easy to enroll, and it is easy to also keep the data safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I can ask the Honorable Ashkir, you were talking about putting in infrastructure across the country that's been suffering from war for so many years. So in some respects, it's a terrible thing, and it's a very difficult start. In other respects, you're starting totally fresh, which means that you can probably bypass a lot of the mistakes and the challenges that other countries already did. But maybe you can also talk a little bit about how you're approaching the legal frameworks, the governance around this, and building trust with everybody in a country that's been fragmented for so long.
Good question. To protect people's privacy and to build a trust, it is important, because we need some steps to do that, because to design a system with privacy and security, when we are starting and want to start that as such a registration, we keep in mind the security from start, and we'll use a strong system to keep safe. We limit also data collections to only what we really needed. We try to keep it a limit, and to have a strict access control is the only authorized people. Not everybody can access and do what he wants to do. And to create clear rules how the data be used, and to provide independent oversight to ensure accountability for that. And also to give the citizens the right to ask, or to ways to ask questions and raise his concerns also. Then we'll try to answer that concerns. And to make sure also actions must be very transparent and fair.
Okay. Mr. Chimariwa, you were ending your talk in the last question that I asked you. You're talking about the government funding the whole program, which is a very expensive program to do. But I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, are you getting the citizens to pay for the identity? Cost can exclude instead of include a lot of citizens, so how are you approaching this? How do you see it going forward into the future, so you can keep on including those that are far away or the marginalized communities? If you could talk a little bit about your experience.
The Zimbabwean government has it has waived the fees that are involved for the initial registration for a birth. It's free until the age of 6 years. And the first time application for a national identity card, it's also free. But if you lose, there's just a minimal amount. And time and again, the government is waiving these additional fees requirements for the vulnerable groups through our mobile registration initiatives to the less privileged. As they are conducted, no fees are charged. So despite the fact that if you lose an identity for the first time, that's when you pay a minimum fees. because people, they can come and apply to say today, tomorrow, and tomorrow. So to keep this, just a minimum amount is paid. But in terms of the holistic approach, the government is not levying any fees.
Okay.
So, and also when you are conducting a remote registration, the fees are totally waived so that we register everybody.
Okay, that's great. Honorable Jack, maybe a last question just on the experience of biometric enrollment specifically. You know, you've got the program INRIS and you're accelerating the rollout, the use of biometrics. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, is it working? Is it helping? What's your experience been with biometrics in identity across the whole country?
Our intention is to ensure that no one is left behind. In order to ensure that no one is left behind, we have taken 3 steps. We have embarked on mobile registration using mobile kits. We are registering and we are centered at schools and health facilities. As you are aware, at schools and health facilities, there are always members of the public and pupils who would want to register. So we use this platform using mobile kits at schools and clinics. We also have what we call continuous registration. These are centers where we continuously register members of the public to ensure that they are part of this process, digitization. We have also embarked on public awareness using community radio station, community engagement, and also ensuring that we use traditional leaders and other players to sensitize members of the public to participate in these mobile registration processes. We obviously are encountering challenges in terms of mobile kits. We need to ensure that we have more mobile kits and more members of staff to ensure that we register a lot of our citizens as we embark through this process.
Honorable David, maybe not the same question for you. I just want to talk a little bit more about how you see the building trust in the country, because that seems to be something that you've done well at. You know, so with digital identity being implemented, you have to deal with protection of personal data as well. Could you share some more thoughts on how you're doing that and how you're talking to the people about that?
Moderator, we have put in place the data protection law, which was passed in 2019. But the way we are organized is that it's also under the National Information and Technology Authority, which is under the Ministry of IT. That one has also enhanced the trust levels with the public. And among others, that department is the whip regarding compliance across government. It's a new thing. People tend to take time to understand that private information shouldn't be easily accessed by those who are not authorized. It takes a while to put protocols in place and for people to get accustomed to that. But the main baseline trust tool is the importance of these documents, because with an ID you can access services, and with a passport, of course, you can travel. These days within the East African region, we also allow for IDs to be used as documents for travel. That's how important it is, and that one enhances the trust levels. But also, we have put in place third-party data sharing interfaces to enable service delivery, and also worked on linking registries, through upgrades of our national IDs. We have enhanced features now because initially the maiden ID only had limited biometrics. Now we have added the iris, which I think is an important upgrade to support online and offline verification, credentials and credentials access, and digital signatures. We have also introduced machine-readable zones and barcodes to enable rapid data exchange across platforms. So these are some of the measures we put in place to enhance trust among the citizenry.
Thank you. So, Honorable Ebenezer, maybe I want to ask you the same question I asked Honorable David, but even two questions in once. So if you can talk a little bit about the trust and data protection, but also about how you're educating the public.
I think in my initial comment, I made mention of the fact that to break barriers, we decided to get the local authorities, and I mean the chiefs and opinion leaders, civil society, to lead in getting the people, to understand the various processes. In addition to that, we have data protection laws that have been enacted to the extent that we have, as part of, building trust and getting, data protected, we have independent, bodies that do monitoring, making sure that each and everybody that is involved in data collection, keeping the data and processing adheres to the various, regulations in there to give assurance to everybody, and then to also build trust so that we have the buy-in from the public, as well as we also putting in safeguards to protect the interests of the public.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Ashker, so maybe a similar question to you, but also just talking about linking, again, just coming back to some linking. When you have this trustworthy registration, you've got this civil registration service, are you going to be linking that to other systems? You talked about banking and these things. Maybe if you could share a little bit more about that process for us.
Somehow they are collecting only the data, but there is a government staff from NIRA going there, just checking and make sure that they put the data into the proper system, not the bank. They can collect only the data, and they can give the staff to that data only.
Okay. And the Unified Civil Registration Service, that is your system that you are rolling out, and that's covering everything from birth to death to marriage, all the aspects?
That is a civil registration role, and we as the government, we believe that a unified civil registration system, Somalia is rolling now out a unified digital civil registration service in many districts now in Somalia, and it brings together birth, death, and marriage, also divorce records in one national system. And we hope that will support also to get the ID and then the other documents like passports and what you want to travel. And linking CRVS with the national ID and the other key sectors, the Ministry of Interior now is ensuring that the CRVS platform now connects smoothly with the national ID, and then immigration in order to take the passports, and health sector also, and other government and private services. And so we want to ensure all records must be accurate and authentic also. The national ID is now issued directly from the verified paths records from the civil registration department system, and this prevents people from having multiple documents or a fake IDs to ensure each person has a security identity, secure identity, I mean, and that is what we are planning to do. So.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one last question for you, Mr. Chimeriwa, and then I'm just going to ask each one of you just for a closing statement, maybe on the importance of identity to your future plans in the country. But Mr. Chimeriwa, if you could just talk a little bit as well about the safeguards for biometric data. You know, what kind of regulations have you put in place to protect the biometric data, the personal data for the citizens?
Thank you so much. We are in the stage of strengthening our registration system. The government of Zimbabwe has enacted a law, the Cyber and Data Protection Act of 2021. This act provides for the legal framework of data processing, data protection, including requirements for consent, data privacy, and also the establishment of an authority that is responsible for data, a data authority entity that oversees all the challenges that are concerned with the Cyber and Data Protection Act. So in that area, we have got a regulatory body that has been enacted to oversee the data protection and cyber security.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Jack, closing statement from you, please.
Thank you so much, moderator. For us in Zambia, digitization is a must. From the period we started digitization, we have noted that the cost of doing business has reduced. We are able to do business at a lower cost and more efficiently. We have noted that through the process of digitization, we are able to generate more finances for the government of the Republic of Zambia, which enables us to provide a service to the citizens. We have also noted that through digitization, we are able to scale down fraud. We are able to secure the country. We are now able to trace some elements who are able to destabilize the country. So for us, in terms of finances, good governance, it is a must that we digitize.
Thank you. Honorable David.
Thank you.
Closing thoughts.
Wrap up short. I think we have no choice but to embrace digitization. If we don't, the bad elements will, and we'll always play catch up. But before I go into the last remarks, I also want to say that we did undergo an exercise of rationalization across government. We collapsed some entities, merged others. The marriage function used to be under the Ministry of Justice, but what we did now is to ensure that all personal registration is domesticated under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and in particular under NIRA. But we also, I forgot to mention the challenge of IDs as collateral for debt. I don't know if the other countries face the same. People stake their IDs to borrow money, especially. But I think the solution, of course, lies also in moving to digital IDs, because that way you have nothing to hold on to as collateral. It's criminal, yes, but it's difficult because the victim willingly gives away the ID. But last, networks matter, both internal and international, and I want to commend DGA for congregating us to share experiences, to share challenges, to share lessons, and to build partnerships that will ensure that we exploit the advantages of digitization to improve our productivity, common productivity across Africa, our stability, our prosperity, and our security. I thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Honorable Ebenezer,
Thank you very
last
much.
thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. For Ghana, the essence of putting a national registration authority under the Ministry of Interior is to enhance interagency coordination, enhance compliance, and also improve resource mobilization. For safeguards, we have our data protection, and we have an independent oversight, committee that oversees the guidelines and adherence to data protection and transparency. It's also helping in the combat of crime combating, cyber security, integrity and everything. And then to enhance, public awareness, we have to remove barriers. We started with free registration for first-timers. We also have affordable replacement if if you misplace your card. It should not be difficult for you to get a replacement. So we have that. We've also devised means, identity, find a way of identify prospective, persons that will be enrolled by introducing what we call the guarantor system. Because when you go to the remote areas, there are people who do not even have birth certificates. But we have a way of getting them enrolled through the guarantor system, where parents, relatives will stand in to guarantee the identity of such persons. We have also embarked on the public awareness using civil society, the chiefs, and by our governance structure. From national, we have the regional, district, and then at the community level where we have assemblies. We have deployed, we have the national the identity authority at the national, at the regional, at the district, and at the community level. So it makes accessibility also, enhanced. In fact, we have had challenges with finances. So, currently what we are doing is to, embark on, public, private partnership,
Yeah.
To get the processes enhanced in terms of our finances. And
maybe just a closing thought.
Sorry?
And maybe just a closing thought from you on, and just a closing thought, last thought on the importance of identity for your country.
Yes. So as I said, it enhances, our security, enhances resource mobilization, it enhances interagency cooperation and policy, implementation, and above all, to give security and trust to our people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Ashkir, maybe the same question for you. A last thought, the importance of identity for the future of Somalia.
Actually, I don't want to say more, but Somalia now, there is a special case, there is a security now, and we understand as a government that it is very important to work these IDs and identification and to know everybody is very important for us. So the government is fully committed and now working with, as I said before, all the sectors. And there is a media campaign and engagement, the locals, and instead of working only with the government institutions, but to engage also the public, to do the public awareness and to work with the private sectors. And it is very important because it is too important for us to know everybody in Somalia from outside and from the citizens also, because of the challenges that we are facing. And also, it is very important for the financial issues and the banks. We use hawalas for our money transfers, and all that. It makes very important this time, and the government makes one of its priorities now, and do all the efforts we can do to make sure that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chimariwa, maybe a very brief closing comment from you. I see time is catching us.
Thank you very much. An identity is so important. I will sum up from a foundational idea. It's an enabler to digital identity. And the use of a digital identity, it identifies who an individual is. It is very important that an identity can be used for both economic and social activities. We got the financial services, they need to identify who an individual is in terms of their anti-money laundering. They will track where the source of funds are coming out. And also on social benefits, we have seen that governments time and again makes initiatives to support farmers in terms of inputs, distribution. So in that cluster, it is easy to disburse funds using a digital identity. And also, as we traverse across continents, we can use the passport as a form of another digital identity through the border management authorities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of the panel. I must say it is so exciting to hear about the initiatives that you're running in your countries. And I want to thank you on behalf of DGA for participating and coming to share as leaders your experience with us. Thank you very much, everybody.